Welcome to the Loaded Cannon. First up, Free Palestine, solidarity to all of the Palestinians that are living in a ceasefire that isn't a ceasefire. Please don't forget to keep on speaking out. What's been happening for the last 2 years is still happening. So it's important that we don't let ourselves, um, you know, off the responsibility, off the hook of speaking up about it because of this faux ceasefire. So please do keep speaking out. Hit the like button on this video, put some Palestine flags in the comments below, keep talking about it, and make sure that people like myself and others that are on social media talking about it aren't suppressed. On to the Arsenal game. I am tired, guys, just generally, not with Arsenal, nothing to do with football. I am tired, and I wanted to sit down today, relax, and watch Arsenal just get to a comfortable win. And that's exactly what I got. It wasn't looking like that in the first half, in all honesty. I thought Club Brugge actually started off quite well, and they had quite a bit of the ball, etc. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan now, with the team that we've got, with how efficient we can be and how professional we can be so regularly, so consistently, there was no part of the game in which I was worried. But I was just thinking, when are we going to start getting control of the game? And out of nowhere, my God, we have to talk about it straight off the bat. Madueke. And you know, you get two different types of fans, right? You get some fans, and I think it was easier back in the day because I was a football fan before social media, where you didn't necessarily put your opinions out there for everyone to look at and then be able to pull up 5 months later, 6 months later. But now in this new world, people seem to get really, really wedded to their opinions and stuff that they've said. Honestly, back in the day when I was following Arsenal prior to social media being such a major factor in a football fan's life, I never came across fans that didn't want players to succeed. And now you see it so often because we're out there explicitly saying that, no, this player's no good, we don't want him to join. And there were so many of them for Noni Madueke. I was one of them. I was one of them saying, I don't want to sign him. He hasn't shown enough at Chelsea to warrant the transfer fee that we're paying for him. And also, above all, for me, it was a case of strengthening a rival in an era of financial responsibility, for football clubs. So for me, that really bothered me that we were sort of getting Chelsea off the hook, not for a player that I had ever watched and thought I really want to sign him. But when I'm saying there's two different types of football fans, you get the type of football fan that what's more important to them is being vindicated. That opinion that they had, at the point that they signed a player, or 6 months ago or whatever, they want to be right, and they have a whole lot of pride and importance on being proved right, even if that is at the expense of the player and therefore at the expense of the club. And then you get another type of football fan, which I like to think I belong to, where it's a case of, yeah, you can have your opinions and you say them at the time, but ultimately you want to be proved wrong. And you realize that the most direct route to success is by the people who are wearing the kit, the manager on the touchline who's wearing the suit, by them succeeding in their roles without having to constantly change and have a player fail, so you have to replace him just so you feel better about yourself and your prediction, and your mates can't take the mick out of you for saying someone will be crap and they turned out to be great. Let's put it on record. So far, Madueke has exceeded everyone's expectations. Let's be honest about that. Put it in the comments below what your reaction was when we first signed him, because I'm being honest about it, and I'm delighted for him to prove us wrong. Because ultimately, I think what we're seeing this year with such a good squad is it bringing the best out of everyone. Martinelli, I thought first half actually he wasn't playing very well, but second half he really came out. And overall this season, when he's been playing, he's really made a difference. Saka, as usual, Mr. Consistent, just world class, always great. Madueke playing really well when he gets an opportunity as well. And even games where he doesn't score to get an assist, a lot of threat. He's bringing a lot of threat. And in his post-match interview today as well, he spoke about the fact that that's the minimum for him. That's the least he can do, is to make his teammates at least think if we give him the ball, he'll give us some threat. And I think he has been doing that all season, and today he added end product. And I'll talk about his 2 goals and actually which one pleased me more, but I'll go into that afterwards. And then Trossard as well, who I think has been one of Arsenal's best players this season. You see that competitive spirit with those 4 players jostling for 2 spots. Then you've got Eze and Erdegaard in the middle as well. in this game today, actually, there were moments, especially in the first half, where I thought to myself, there's such a massive space between the lines that Erdegaard wasn't taking. And I was almost thinking I kind of miss Eze, but Erdegaard still, he was good today. I think second half, positionally, we were a lot better, a lot crisper in our play as well. So we really stepped it up in the second half. But Madueke's first goal, let's go back to that. Delighted for him. Unbelievable finish. I did not know he had that in his locker. I'll be honest with you, I did not know he had that in his locker. But whilst I loved watching that goal, and who doesn't love like a 25-yard strike that hits the crossbar and goes in, it was his second goal that pleased me more, because that strike, that is not something that you're going to be able to repeat, week in, week out. But his movement and his willingness to be in the right place as the right winger when the ball's on the left-hand side, for me, that is very easily repeatable. And if he is conditioning himself to make those runs and take up those positions, then I think he's doing all the right things, and it's exactly where I expect a right winger to be. And the fact that he gets a 1-yard header is, or 3-yard, whatever it was, music to my ears, because you don't often expect to see a Madueke type of player taking up those positions when he can really impact the game in terms of goals and assists. A lot of the complaints about him were about lack of end products, but if in this team and this new environment we're getting the best out of him, that's going to be a massive part of it, just picking up the right positions. Martinelli's goal as well, phenomenal goal. In fact, let me know, which one did you prefer? What did you rate as a better goal, Martinelli's or Madueke's? Because Martinelli's, when you look at when he struck that ball, he's actually going diagonally away from goal, and the way he wraps his foot around it, just absolutely beautiful. Both of them were great. I can't make my mind up, so you're going to have to let me know. In other news, Gabriel Jesus, having him back is absolutely brilliant. Look, I think Gyökeres is absolutely our number one striker, but and I was really desperate for Gyökeres to score a goal today. Unfortunately, it didn't come for him. But lovely to see Jesus back on the pitch. And he looked lively. The same old story in terms of finishing wasn't there. But then again, look, he's been out for 11 months. So that will come, and that sharpness will come and everything like that. And the finishing will come, hopefully. But he will definitely have an important role to play for the team this season. And especially if Gyökeres gets injured, well, it's great to have other options up top, even though Mikel Merino has done phenomenally well in his time as well. And the other thing, massive shout out for Marley Salmon. What a dream. You get some players who are very young, Salmon being 16, who come onto the pitch and they don't look like an actual child. Like, for example, Max Dowman, 1 year older than him. He doesn't look like a kid as much as Miley Salmon does. My God. He really looked like a kid was coming onto the pitch. But I think Martin Kane made a really good point in commentary where he said, if Miley Salmon trains with the first team at 16, that's a big deal. You can imagine he'd be buzzing, he'd go home and tell his friends, his family, I got invited to train with the first team. That's an honour in itself. To make your Champions League debut, and I think he's the 4th youngest ever in the club's history, and you've got some stunning players in that list, such as Francesc Fabregas, for example. But unbelievable for Miley Salmon. So congrats to him, all of his family, and anyone that's been involved in his journey. Just a massive achievement to be able to represent Arsenal at such a young age in the Champions League. And congrats to Martinelli as well, to become the first Arsenal player ever to score 5 in a row in the Champions League. In 5-10 years' time, that's going to be a question in an Arsenal quiz, and we're all going to guess we're all going to guess Thierry Henry, sort of Champions League era. Some of the great goal scorers that Arsenal have had, those are the ones that we're going to guess. Well, remember it now, Martinelli. Up the Arsenal. See you next time. Next up is Wolves. Got to be 3 points. Take care. See you next time.